Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Friday, September 8th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Youngstown State game is tomorrow. The game against Michigan in 78 days. On yesterday's show, you got to take a little bit of a deep dive on the Ohio State offense, what we learned from week one, the quarterback battle, all that fun stuff that people have been arguing about all week. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Ohio State defense and how things went during week one against that Indiana game. This is a little weird. Everyone feels great about the defense right now. Everyone feels very concerned about the Ohio State offense. This is a little bit of a through the looking glass kind of situation. We'll try and make sense of some things. And we're going to do that once again with Buckeye Huddle's X's and O's guru, Ross Fulton. Ross, week one, I think everyone sort of had a sense that this should be a better defensive year for Jim Knowles and his unit. But it was way better. It was way better immediately. And I guess the first question everyone's going to have is, so is Indiana that bad, or is this really legitimately an improvement from the defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think a combination thereof. How about that? Indiana is both, I don't think, nearly as good on offense as they are on defense. I think also what they were trying to do in terms of running the ball and running the option plays right into Ohio State's strengths. I mean, you have safeties, you have a 230-pound nickel safety, Josh Proctor, as your free safety, who really likes to come downhill and play the run. And so I do think you saw some promising signs from the Ohio State corners against the pass, so that was very good. But I do think it still leaves questions in terms of how exactly the safety situation is going to work against a team that wants to throw the ball all over the yard.
Yeah, and that was something that Ryan Day and Jim Knowles both kind of talked about a little bit on Tuesday, that Josh Proctor, as a safety, he loves to come downhill and hit in the run game. And then the question is, if they're trying to, if he has to be the deep guy, will there be people who get behind him? And that's just sort of, that they have not really been tested in that way yet. So we'll keep an eye on that one. That'll be, we'll talk about that a little later on. But I guess let's start with a Josh Proctor play and Josh Proctor crashing and really going after the run, making a big stop in the run game. This was one of the early triple option plays, which, before we even get to the play, Jim Knowles said they practiced about 5 snaps against the triple option in week one. Is the fact that they were able to be so effective against that and adjust to that so quickly when it wasn't there, this was not what they were expecting. Is that, and is this like a positive sign of year 2 in the system and guys sort of understand what they're supposed to be doing in the terminology, and you can communicate that quickly and they can adjust to a complete curveball from the opposing team?
Yeah, no, I think that was promising. I will caveat that it's not literally the triple option, because it's more of a straddle option where you're running like a zone play to one side and then the quarterback's reading one guy. Then if he keeps it, he's reading the other one. So technically a triple option, you're literally blocking off of 2 guys. You're reading off of 2 guys to the front side of the play. Be that as it may, I agree that it was a promising sign that they handled it well. Again, to me, that's probably not the way you're going to want to take on this Ohio State defense. I kind of laughed when I first saw them come out, because, they're essentially running like, it's like, speaking of flashbacks, like 1999, all over again. They're running like a 4-3 cover 3. And people want to talk about like all the positions Sonny Styles is playing. I'm like, he's a Sam linebacker. I mean, he's a Sam linebacker that they feel comfortable, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, like lining up deeper. But you look at what they're doing. Like, if you want to play them in a phone booth, you're going to get a lot of guys coming downhill at them. And so, the thing that I wanted to show with this play is I joke that they're a 4-3 cover 3 team. You see Styles lined up basically right as a Sam linebacker, like right, he's in the overhang area outside the wing, but up near the line of scrimmage. But the one thing they were doing with their cover 3 is that they were rotating it depending on the action. And, I'm not whether that was a response to the option or just something you're going to see. But what that did is it actually flipped in some ways the roles of Proctor and Ransom. And so that'll be something to watch going forward, because like last year, for instance, they generally had the boundary safety as the guy often coming down as the cover 3 buzz defender. And they're like and so because of that, he was like responsible to the weak side for a run gap. Here, what they're doing is they're rotating their cover 3 strong. And so that puts Proctor coming downhill. You have now Ransom as the deep middle guy. And so I think, again, be something to watch against a more conventional offensive set is like, do they continue to essentially read their cover 3 such that they determine at the snap which way they're going to rotate?
All right, so there's just a little taste of the run defense. Let's talk a little bit about the pass defense as well. This was actually the very next play in the game, and Denzel Burke playing way off his guy and ends up making a nice break on the ball to break up a pass here.
Yeah, and again, I think like from that perspective, as I mentioned, like I thought the corners played the ball well. Like Davison Ignoz's physicality is really a welcome sight. It's been a while since Ohio State's had a corner that can do that and also be a factor in the run game. I mean, you can squat him in the as a corner, but the other thing you notice here again is my joke about Sonny Styles. Like he is deep, so this is more of like Knowles' 3 high look. And so what this ends up being is actually just cover 1, and they're just covering everyone from depth. And so again, you're trusting Styles in this situation to be the slot, cover the slot. Now, again, I think Western Kentucky will be our real question of this. And actually here Styles kind of gets beat. But it takes so long that it doesn't hurt him too much. As you can see, he sort of falls for the move. But again, so the first third down play of the game, as I think someone asked Knowles on Tuesday, noted that they brought in Cam Martinez for Styles on like a 3rd and 6 or whatever. And they didn't do that again for the rest of the game until, I think the last series or 2, they just put Cam Martinez in, when the game was, pretty much out of reach. So, I think it still begs the question, like, how comfortable are they going to be with if a team is just all spread out with Styles being the, playing in space? I would say on Saturday, overall, they ran a lot of cover 3 on early downs, rundowns, and then they mixed in cover 1 and Tampa 2 quite a bit on passing downs. Kept it pretty basic. And so, maybe if they're playing zone, they feel comfortable with that. But if you're in man on like a good slot receiver, I don't know, maybe he can do it. I just think we have to still see, and similar like with Proctor, So here you're playing your cover 1. Styles has a slot. Ransom has the tight end to the boundary. Like kind of how it's drawn up, like most offenses line up, and you have Proctor's your deep middle. And again, like, can he do that? As you mentioned, he's, Knowles likes to talk about how he comes downhill, but what they really need to do is like, I don't doubt their ability to defend the run. So, they do need to be able to defend the pass. And so, I think Proctor played well. Hartford came in for most of the second half. And I thought he did a pretty nice job as well. But again, I just think, not that I'm saying they can't do these things, just that Indiana did not provide adequate test of whether they can.
And I know you mentioned that Western Kentucky might be the week that we kind of see what a stress test of this Ohio State defense looks like. The Hilltoppers will throw the ball all over the yard. There's a technical term for you. That's going to be a little bit more of an interesting test against this Ohio State pass defense. But this weekend against Youngstown State, I feel like kind of one of the narratives this week is there anything you could see that would be like a really positive that, oh boy, this is a great sign that they're able to do fill in the blank against Youngstown State? Or is this a week where it just becomes there's nothing you can see would be good news? It's just the only thing you could learn would be bad.
I tend to, I hate to say it can only be bad, but I think though, what you want to just see is like domination. I mean, really, like they should overmatch them and there should not be issues. And that really is like what you should see. I mean, I think they're going to be, I think even if Indiana was like not a well-suited team to go against Ohio State, I think you can still see like the talent is there. I mean, they're super experienced. They're very long in the back end. The defensive line controlled the line of scrimmage. And so you want to still see those things, to the extent that like Youngstown State tries to more conventionally pass against them. I mean, I think it'd be nice to get the opportunity to see the pass rush and how they handle that. As the game progressed against Indiana, when Indiana was throwing a little bit more, you started to see Ohio State stunt more up front, which created some pressure. I thought Caden Curry did a nice job in their third down package. They bring him in as a defensive tackle. And so, I think you just want to see evidence of them against more of a conventional passing game, just, out of see how it goes. But as I said, I think it would be nice for them also to prepare for that because the next week, Western Kentucky will throw it a ton.
All right. And now to the story of the week, possibly the story of the season. Quarterback to Electric Boogaloo. This was Kyle McCord will be starting again for the Buckeyes. Devin Brown supposedly going to be playing again. What are you looking for? What would be good news for Ohio State fans in terms of the quarterback battle this week? What is a good thing for them to be watching other than just, hey, they scored a bunch of touchdowns against Youngstown State? What would you see that would be like, okay, this is like real tangible progress from the quarterback position this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's improving on some of the mistakes that not coming off of his downfield progressions too quickly. And the couple instances he did so, when he's not getting locked onto a receiver downfield, there are a couple instances of that, finding reading the coverage correctly. When someone's open, making the throw accurately. I'd like to see the offense, as we discuss it, adjust itself somewhat to match his strengths, to match the strengths of the team and how defenses are playing them, take advantage of the quick game throws, the RPO throws. And, I think similarly, it's not just the quarterback too. Like you want to see the offensive line improve in terms of reading what the defense is doing, picking up run throughs, executing their assignments correctly. And so, and similarly, like run game scheme, you want to see the continued diversification of the run game with, going beyond outside zone to counter and power, wind back, the things we saw against Indiana. So I think there's things for everyone to improve, not just the quarterbacks, but you certainly want to see, from McCord, at least, Devin Brown basically didn't get to play. So it's essentially like a week one for him, but for McCord, like tangible progress on the things, the reps that he needed to improve on, and building on the things he did do well against Indiana.
All right, so we will all be keeping a close eye on the quarterback position this weekend when the Buckeyes take on Youngstown State tomorrow at the Horseshoe, kickoff at noon. We will have our usual pregame look at the availability report for the Buckeyes. Tony Gerderman and I will have that from Ohio Stadium for you in the morning. And then, of course, the usual postgame show, lots of insight, lots of analysis, interviews with Brian Day and the players, much more, all coming to you live on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. Immediately after the game, I'm going to guess there will be plenty to talk about. We'll be answering your questions and much more, all at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle after the game. That will be quite a lot of fun, I'm going to guess. We will see you then, but thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.